All right, bros and hoes, it's here. We're gonna watch Austin Evans talk us through some technology.
I just tried one of the coolest pieces of tech I have ever seen. So Meta were very kind and invited me out to their campus ahead of Meta Connect this year to
Oh,
try one of the most interesting pieces
he
of
looks
tech
so
I have
happy.
ever gotten my eyes on. Now you're likely familiar with VR, whether it be the Meta Quest or realistically even something like the Apple Vision Pro. It is a way to put yourself in a different environment. It's a very immersive experience, but there are a lot of downsides. It's big, it's heavy, battery life isn't great, and the pass that you see is entirely based on cameras, which, let's be honest, are never as good as the real world.
Mm, right. Those are downfalls. Also, some of the downfalls that I see is that people are putting something on their face that's gonna take them away from what's actually going on in the world again. Like trees don't stand a chance. Remember back in the day when people used to go for walks? And they just like look at trees. Why would you look at a tree? Why would you look at a tree when you can have a computer on your face and look at, I don't know, hot Instagram chicks? You know, that's where it's going to go. People are just going to be popping up all over the place. Oh, man. I was one of the people when VR was coming out that I saw this happening. And I'm usually like, I like to push technology and I'm like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Between like, already like the jobs that are being lost because of like AI and stuff, this is going to be another one of those things. It's like not going to be job losses, but already like go out, man, turn on a football game and just at any point just hit pause and look at how many advertisements that you see just on the screen that you're watching all over the place. They put them on the helmets now, they put them here, like they just won't stop just throwing ads everywhere. Imagine when like you were wearing something on your face. They're just going to start putting them on the walls of your home. And okay, and I'm not trying to knock this technology too much before we watch this video because like the technological advance that's happening right now, like this is miraculous, right? And there's going to be some benefits to this as well. Like imagine like job training when you're sitting there and like you work at McDonald's, right? You get a job at McDonald's, like man, it'd be so cool to just like okay, an order just came in, boop boop. Here's the ingredients right here. This is how you make that thing. Okay, cool. Oh, where is it? It could have like arrows pointing. It'd be really cool for like learning how to do things and these like different cool immersive experiences. You go to like a museum, right? And you look at a piece of art and instead of that little like copper plate or whatever that has some information on it, sometimes it's just a name and you got to do your own research. Well, now you can just like dang, you can see that art. I'm sure that between like generative AI, you can make that art come to life. You could have it immerse yourself in the whole room, and all these like cool things are coming. But also, it just kind of scares me. And also, there's this weird thing that like makes me. It's like so weird to me that we're gonna see in this. I haven't seen this particular video, but I've seen different demos of people using this similar technology, and everything's using like this like pinch, like this like okay cool, we're just gonna pinch it. Same thing with like the Vision Pro, right? It's like these little pinch things. When you have something just strapped to your face and you're just sitting there and you're doing this, it really looks like you're just molesting a ghost. Like there's gonna be something weird about that. I wouldn't feel comfortable. It would look like I'm just like literally just watching interactive porn like in public. Something's weird about that gesture. I don't know. I feel like we need like a ring or something where we can kind of just like maybe diddle our, make it look like we're diddling or something. Just, something a little more like conspicuous because man, this whole thing, you know, the Me Too movement happens. Like, I don't want to be doing this in public.
Now, on the other side of the equation, you have something like the Meta Ray-Bans. So I can
I have
easily
those. They're awesome.
capture a photo, but Orion is something different. So the basic idea is that take something like Meta Ray-Bans and build an entire computer in it. First and foremost, you have actual displays in the lenses, but they're not just
Real quick, I want to talk about those Meta Ray Bans. Maybe my favorite piece of technology that I've bought in the last since AirPods. Let's go there. Since AirPods, those have been my favorite technology that I've bought. There's so many instances, and I think that that's kind of cool. It lights up to let you know, right? There's a lot of questions about like, man, it's kind of creepy putting a camera there, whatever. People might feel a little uncomfortable. Everybody's got their phone in their hand all the time, anyways. It's a lot less conspicuous having something that's flashing off the side of your face than when people just have their phone in their hands, anyways. They could be recording you just as easily. But situations with my kids, it's so much easier than when going, oh, I'm going to grab my phone because for whatever reason, when kids know that they're getting their pictures taken or whatever, you know, like they can either hit a pose or just completely avoid the situation. But it's so much more natural when they're doing something that's like kind of cute and funny or whatever, and you're just like, boop, you know, it's a lot easier. And also, you also have the speakers in it where you get the immersive audio without something in your ears, so you feel more approachable. I think, like at work, you know, I have AirPods and I also have those glasses. When I'm wearing my glasses, I feel like people are more likely to come up to me and be like, "Hey, how was your weekend?" Whatever. When you have your AirPods in, it's kind of like a symbol to people, like, "Stay the fuck away," right? Then also it has AI built in, you know, boop, hey, tell me what I'm looking at. You can look at ingredients and do all that kind of cool shit. So I think that I feel comfortable with technology. I'm like, that was a good area when we're talking about like wearable technology that you would wear on your face. Like I'm like, okay, that line I think was like right there. I think that was a very good spot. This is where, look at him. What does it look like he's doing? Molesting a ghost. I'm telling you, now that I said that, this whole video, you're just gonna see people molesting ghosts.
Just like fully immersive sort of displays.
Oh.
You have two little projectors in silicon carbide lenses. And what that means is that those projectors can display an image over the top of the real world. And I will say that I used it in a room that was relatively well lit, and it was good. Now, clearly not perfect. First of all, I need prescription lenses, and I did not have contacts or something, so everything was a little bit blurry, so I can't really judge just how sharp it was, but it looked quite good. And importantly, it was very bright, it was very saturated, but I still had pretty much full pass-through, right? Like the actual level of like tint for the lens was incredibly low.
Also, I'm gonna be watching The Office at all times. That's not fair to other people who are gonna have to compete with that. Like, oh, you want to tell me a story about your car? Oh, what happened? Oh, your car's making some weird noise. Okay, go get it fixed, bro. I'm in the middle of the office. The show, not work.
You really did feel like you're just wearing a regular pair of glasses, just with a
Oh.
little bit of distortion from the fact that they two individual lenses to let all the light through. Now, on top of that, there was a bracelet. The bracelet
I shouldn't have ruined it for you guys.
a hand controller, but rather it picks up the electrical impulses of your fingers and sends that over to the headset. If you've tried something like the Apple Vision, it has cameras facing down, so you can like use like little pinch gestures kind of like at your lap or
A lot more subtle.
But with this, you can have your hands anywhere. You can have it behind your back. And essentially what it does is, paired with eye tracking, you can look at anything and just pinch your fingers. You know, you can swipe, and on top of that, it actually...
That's gonna be so weird. Everybody's sitting in public.
So as you're tapping stuff, you're feeling it not only with the actual fact that your finger is touching your other finger, but you're actually feeling the bracelet give you a little bit of a vibration. Now, there is a separate little puck that has some of the computing in it, but it's entirely wireless. And honestly, it's tiny. You could easily put it in a belt or in a pocket. It was actually quite high.
I think they should just make it a little bit bigger where it can also charge your other devices.
Frame rate as well. So it was running at 90 hertz on the headset. It's being upsampled from 45 via the actual wireless link. It's obviously not a complete thing, right? Like, this is very much sort of Gen 1. They are not selling this version. I've heard that if they were going to sell this thing, it would be absurdly expensive, like maybe like 10 grand or something, right? But they're clearly developing this technology, and this is kind of like the end game for all of the VR and AR stuff that Meta has been building over the years. Now, they're still making headsets. In fact, they actually announced at Meta Connect a new version of the Meta Quest. So there is a brand new Meta Quest, which is, even though it may be not quite exciting, is really a major step forward. So this is the Meta Quest 3S. This is a $300 version of the Meta Quest 3. Now, there are some minor sacrifices. It does use similar lenses and a display from the Quest 2, but it does have pretty much everything else that is going to be a match for the Quest 3, including the same processor, the same full color pass-through. It actually even has some additional upgrades, including an IR camera. And while the Quest 3 has got a price cut to $500, the Quest 3S is available for $299. And I think that's a really strong value. But the thing that's much more exciting to me really is Orion. Now, I was able to try a lot of demos. So I was able to jump on like a WhatsApp call, I was able to scroll Instagram. First and foremost, the displays are really good. But there's a lot of individual pieces layered on top of that. The tracking is really quite solid. So much like if you've ever used a Meta Quest or an Apple Vision, you can put a window and it will stay there in space. On top of that, you can take advantage of looking around and tapping to actually navigate versus something on the Quest today where you actually have to either use the controllers or use your hand. So definitely feels more advanced on that standpoint. You also have
Damn.
Meta AI built in.
Just
So
shooting
one of the
people.
demos I got to try was that there was a list of ingredients and I could look at it and just tell me like, hey, give me a recipe. And not only did it take a look at everything and sort of create a recipe, but actually had little tags floating over each item. It's a little bit transparent. So like if I was talking to someone and I had a window over their face, I couldn't really see it too much. The fact that it felt like there was no compromise. I was just wearing a regular pair of glasses. They just happened to let me walk around and be like scrolling Instagram by myself. Like that's a crazy idea. This is the first piece of tech I've seen in so long where I tried it, I stepped out of the demo, and the only thing I could say was, holy shit. And while the demo I tried was certainly not perfect, this is a working version of it, right? This is a concept right now, but it seems very clear to me that this is going to be an actual shipping product at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future. This is the first time I've ever tried a product that feels like it's a smartphone killer. It really does, and that sounds like a crazy thing to say. And maybe it won't fully replace the smartphone. It might not. And you do have to wear the bracelet, which is going to actually get that super high fidelity data when you're moving your fingers. Like, it's not as super seamless as just literally putting on glasses. But
Anytime we're talking about new technology like this, always think and expect that it's going to get cheaper, faster, and just all around better. And it's going to happen pretty quick. That's just how these things work. Back in like the 90s, I remember using VR. Oh my gosh. I did VR for like 5 minutes and I instantly ran in the bathroom and got sick. Now it's like a pretty cool experience or whatever. And it's, even, even like 5, 10 years ago, even like 5 years ago, like when you did VR, like you had to be like strapped to something. You had a long tether that went to a computer. And now like the VR headsets are getting so good as these like standalone, like cool tech things, and it's just like right now when you're like hearing about the puck and you're hearing about like the wrist thing, like okay, those are all pretty cool and pretty good answers for like right now. And also like all the limitations, like I think that if they're talking about batteries and like whatever the battery life may be, 2 or 3 hours wearing those things, that is all going to change. It's going to get better. So when you're thinking about the things that could go right with these things and also thinking about the things that could go wrong, you can project out a little bit by just expecting like this is going to get kind of crazy.
it's not far off. And I've come away with this thinking that
See?
all the billions and billions of dollars that Meta has poured into the Reality Labs project, all the years they've spent developing the Oculus and the Meta Quest and the Meta Ray-Bans, all of these things are coming together in the product that we've all kind of hoped for. And I'm incredibly excited to try Orion when it actually comes out. Immediately after my Orion demo, I had the opportunity to interview Boz, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Meta, and essentially the guy who's made all of this possible. First of all, Boz, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm sure you're incredible.
I wonder if this is going to be another one of those situations like the guy in another video that we watched who regretted the scroll, the social media scroll. He invented that and then he came out with an apology and he's been fighting. He actually created a like a nonprofit to help, you can't really stop it now, but against like social media addiction. Again, just like the person who created the atom bomb, Oppenheimer. I wonder if this dude in the future is going to look back at this video and go, "Oh, you son of a bitch. You created the thing that made it where people were no longer connecting." Like already people are like, the birth rates and stuff are dropping in a lot of places because like, man, finances and whatever, people just aren't connecting and people are already on their phones so much. Like imagine when you have this on your face. As much fun. Like I want to be like one of the only ones that has it. I like the exclusivity. Like, oh man, it'd be so sweet to get my hands on one of those things and be cool. But when I'm thinking about like, my kids at the dinner table just sitting there like, eat your grilled cheese, and they're just like, oh dude, it's gonna be, oh man.
Busy this week. If you look at what Reality Labs has done over the last, several years, right? You look at how Quest has evolved. You look at the Meta Ray-Bans, which I think have been a really fascinating, at least from the outside. What's your sort of overall feeling on kind of where what you've built is right now and how that looks like it's going into the future?
The investment horizon that we've taken on with the Reality Labs is pretty uncommon. And so you're looking at, okay, we knew when we started AR work, it was going to be 10 years to the Orion that you just got to try.
Yeah.
You expect two things. First of all, on the way, you're going to discover a bunch of things that you thought would work that don't work. But what's been nice is now you're also finding things that you didn't anticipate when you started, but because you've been making the investment, you're within striking distance when the time is right. And the same has been true for the Ray-Ban Meta product. We've got this amazing product that we designed without even a thought to AI at the time.
Really?
No, the first time we built it, in fact, it wasn't until months before launch that we were like, you know what? We should get our AI assistant in here and make these AI glasses. It's taken a little discipline to remind our industry what it takes to actually innovate in hardware.
Yeah.
And I think, what's fun about the moment we're in now is you're starting to see where it's going.
Really feels like it leads up to Orion, right? Like, so I tried it literally like 5 minutes ago. Right? I literally stepped from the demo. Oh, hey, I'm late. Hey, what's up? So how long have you wanted to make that product? And how, I'm sure the answer's forever, but what point did this start to come in focus where you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is starting to come together, this is starting to come together, where you actually think like this is a viable thing?
I have two answers to this question. One of which is we've wanted this forever. We've wanted this as kind of an industry as long as we can imagine it, right? Like, and it goes deep into the science fiction history. And also this product was 10 years from when the research started, 5 years from when officially the Orion program started, a little over 5 years. And when we started it, we thought there was I have all these documents I was reviewing recently. We thought we had a 10% chance, less than 10% chance of actually being able to build one. As recently as 2 years ago, we were just like really not sure we could do it. There was like a lot of it was challenges in the program. We needed some breakthroughs. And then a year ago was the first time I put on just the display working. There was no software stack running yet, so you couldn't see the operating system. And it was magic. You were like, oh my God, like we've at least done something here. But it wasn't until this summer that I got to try it with the system working that I kind of had that feeling of like, holy it's from a product standpoint, it's ready. It's absolutely ready. It's not the price point that I think is ready for consumers yet. So that's the next big piece of work to do. And what trade-offs do you have to make to get there, and how do you get there? There is a future beyond the smartphone. Like there is. I love the smartphone. Smartphone's amazing, but there is actually a future beyond it. There is even a set of better things that we can go do.
I know people always feel like, oh, it was like the first time you did like a pinch to zoom or something, but it kind of felt like that to me, of like, wow.
Actually, it's funny that you use pinch to zoom as an example. I think the work that Apple pioneered on multi-touch and making that feel so natural to all of us is an analog we look to. I think we look back to Xerox PARC and the work they were doing on mouse and keyboard interactions. And this is one thing to your point earlier about how these things come together or they don't. There's a tremendous technological underpinning that they share, which we're very excited about. And I think with EMG, we're just at the very beginning of what it's capable of. But then there's also like how you use them is it can be described in similar terms, but it's different in the same way that the phone and the laptop are different. And so when you're out and about in the world, how you want to interact with the digital world is just very different than how you do when you're on a plane, in your house, someplace more stationary where you're going to have a headset on. So I think like they're both valuable. You can obviously do things in virtual and mixed reality that you can do no other way, not even with augmented reality glasses. So we also are trying not to overly homogenize them and let them be what they naturally want to be on their own.
Every time I see that video clip,
Here we go.
Oh my,
just looks like he's smacking a child.
These ones actually have a problem, which is the plastic that we had to use to make this clear is thermally not as conducive. Yeah. So these ones, they work in the sense that like you can turn them on, but they actually will power down pretty quickly because the thermals aren't right. This version doesn't have what's called disparity correction. So as your lenses flex relative to one another, we don't want the image to like go blurry on you. Right. So we want to keep them stacked. The next version that we're building does have disparity correction. And so this stack right here gets much thinner, actually about half as thick. Wow. Because the protector comes in from the back at that point. Crazy about this is this is the Steve Jobs test, right? Where he took the iPod and he threw it in the fish tank and was like, there's bubbles. That means there's air in there. There's no bubbles. Like you throw this thing in a fish tank, you're not gonna see anything.
You're doing a fair bit of processing. I know obviously you've got this, which is where the majority of battery and processing is happening. Right. But you're still doing, my understanding is some of the like actual detection when it comes to like the cameras is having to pass through.
That's right. And the reprojection. Because we couldn't deal with the latency of your head moving is too great to send it to the puck and back.
I was gonna say, I did not really detect a whole lot of latency. Like there's like the Palm game especially, or the game we were shooting at the
Stargazer.
Stargazer, yeah. I was just like playing that. It's like you're like diving and ducking your head around. It's like it felt really quick. It reminds me of. Did you ever play the Vectrex?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that reminded me. I was like, oh, this feels like the Vectrex, or obviously like an Atari 2600 or something.
Totally.
But in the best way because it's floating. It's like the whole thing is like fully 3D.
I always try to undersell and over deliver. I just think it's the most advanced consumer electronics we've ever attempted as a species. It's crazy. Like
That's a cool
wild
thing to
how
say.
I think that's
What's the next step?
I think that's accurate.
What do you need to do to get this into people's hands, whether
Yeah.
it's developers or beta testers or me or
totally absolutely good. Yeah.
what a pivot from what like the Avatar Meta Horizon 3D world deal that they were doing. You know, Zuckerberg probably lost so much money doing that because it just didn't catch on. And then he comes out with this. He was just secretly working on this. We're like, oh boy, this is gonna be crazy.
That's right. Next goal is to get it to be cost effective. We've got to get it to a price point where people
It
feel
will.
like, okay, this is something that I can like.
It
even
will.
though It's early and there's
Not at first,
on a
but it will.
For it yet. Not a big developer ecosystem for it yet. Like I'm getting value of it. So there's a bunch of trade-offs that we will have to consider as we look at the next generation. We are well on our way. We actually have not just one next generation. We have 2 next generation products that are already in development. Now with us, you've seen the rumors. Some of them will make it to production. Some of them will not. But we have many prototypes that were stacked following this one.
Are there cameras on? Why are there cameras on the puck?
Because we're going to get some real exclusive content here.
Ooh, excellent.
In an earlier version of this, we were trying to play with what else could we want this thing to do, and so using it as like a camera where it's like, hey, it's you put this on the table. But we've actually ended up finding out that the most important thing we can do with this is make you not worry about it.
Yeah.
It's like the number one goal that we have for this one is like, yep, have it somewhere nearby and just don't worry about it.
Mm.
And then for the most part,
Makes
focus
sense.
on the interactions that you're having naturally with that. So there's like one less fussy thing to deal with.
Yeah,
Thank
'cause
you
it-
so much for taking this.
The more peripherals that you add to the thing, the more it's gonna take you out of the immersion, right? It'd be nice to be able to just keep it in your pocket. Again, I brought up, maybe charging devices or whatever off of it. But also, what other devices? It's gonna eliminate a lot of other devices, right? You're not gonna need a smartphone or anything.
Thanks for having me.
If you have an extra Orion floating around, I volunteer as a beta tester.
So kind of you. So generous. Yeah, absolutely.
I had some questions. The version that I tried certainly was not final in any way whatsoever. I think the price is probably going to be the big one. The lenses, while they're incredibly impressive, are also probably not going to be what they're going to ship. And there was a little bit, because there's 2 pieces of silicon carbide, you can see a little bit of like kind of reflections in between the 2 lenses. So it is not a 100% match for just real glasses, and the holograms aren't like completely real. But like, it's pretty close. And honestly, I am incredibly excited to see what this thing looks like when they finally ship it.
All right, guys. World's about to get in weird.